Well, the first thing I want to start with is actually asking you to pull out your phone. You should have received an email this morning around 9 a.m., maybe a little after. And if you have not received that email, I would encourage you, we've got a slide up here with my phone number on there. You can text me your full name and your email address, and I will forward it to you. But in this email, there was some important information many of you have been working on filling out, but really there's two things that I need from you all, each family, for every student. The first one is our activity participation agreement. And what this is just basically a release of liability for any student that participates in our ministry. For those of you who have been here, this is not new. It's the same form, just updated for the current academic year for our student ministry. And this is really, really important because it allows our students to be able to engage with any activities here that we have for CSM. Things that are in this form that make it important is your updated emergency contact info. So if your student gets hurt and I need to reach out to you, I would love to have the most up-to-date contact information. It allows me to have the ability, if I cannot reach you and it is a serious enough injury, to make a medical, to allow medical EMS treatment. So say a student breaks their leg and their bone is sticking out of their leg, and I'm calling you, and I can't get a hold of you. That allows me to give EMS the ability to work on them, to care for them, so they're not sitting there agonizing with their broken leg. And as maybe far out as that situation sounds, I've shared this now several years, I've had several situations where we've had students come and injuries have happened, and it's clear they need some sort of medical attention, and I can't get a hold of parents. And so it's not fun for the student, it's not fun for me to be sitting there listening to a screaming student. And so that is really the idea behind it, to allow us to do that if it comes. Now I know that's not the case for every family. Some families have, they don't want that, and that's totally okay. It allows, it doesn't change whether or not your student can participate. It just changes whether or not I can act in that way on your behalf. And that's for each family to consider and weigh through and make a decision for. So that form is really, really helpful. The second form on there is labeled as a feedback survey. And I know that may sound unhelpful or like a waste of your time, but it is actually a really helpful thing for me. Because number one, on that form, I'm going to be able to get your students' updated information. So if they change schools, if they got a new phone, if they've changed their email address, all that is really helpful. And then as well as it allows you to speak into our student ministry. I've got questions on there such as, how can we pray for your student? Is there anything about your particular student that I need to know, or that Audrey needs to know, or any of our leaders, that would help us better minister to your student? For those of you who have been in our ministry for any amount of time, it allows you to speak into what you've seen in your experience. If there's something that we could do better or improve upon, or maybe that you have an idea that would be helpful for you, that this is the platform, helpful platform for me to just continually evaluate how we can improve our student ministry. And so even if you're a brand new visitor today, or your student is a rising sixth grader, and you've never been to a CSM gathering, I would encourage you to please still fill out that feedback survey as best you can. It'll be helpful for me, and it shouldn't take but 2 or 3 minutes to work through. So that would be super helpful. Just as a side note as well, I just want to remind you that my primary way of communication is through email. So if you can provide me the best email that you regularly check, my goal, and how I've structured our communication, is that my intention is to send out an email every Wednesday. Sometimes just based on the week, or if I'm waiting to solidify certain information, it doesn't get out until Thursday. But the goal is to send it out every Wednesday with any pertinent information for what's coming up that Sunday or in the week ahead, as well as anything long range. So that would be camp sign-ups, mission trips, our retreats, just continually trying to over-communicate to you so that you know what's coming, where things will be, what time, and I try to put that all out. So if you can provide the best email, that would be super helpful. If you've stopped receiving the emails, sometimes our platform that we use to send out mass emails has glitches. Sometimes it unsubscribes people accidentally, or maybe you click unsubscribe on accident. Please let me know. You just send me a text, and I can look into it. I can fix it on the back end and get them sent to you. And so that way, we just every Wednesday continue to stay up to date with our emails. A couple more just kind of simple things before I jump into what I want to talk about for the remainder of the morning. Is sports calendars. Sports season has officially started again. Not just sports season, you know, our students are back in school, so that means all their clubs, drama club, beta club, all the things that they're a part of extracurricular wise has restarted. And so if you can send me their schedule, some of you are really, it's been really helpful for me to get that, and I would love to try to get to a game of each student if I'm able to, and I love to pass it along to our small group leaders. That's part of what we try to do, is just be a part of students' lives. And so if you send me their sports schedule, or their when their play is, or whatever extracurricular activity, I can't promise that I'll make all of them, but I would love to make as many of them as I can. And so you can email me or text me that as well, and then I'll pass it along to their small group leaders as well. And then the last thing that will, just kind of simple announcement, is our YouTube channel. It's not new, but we are now, this is new, we are now going to be recording Sunday schools and Sunday night gatherings. And the idea behind that is for our students to be able to go back and revisit something that they've heard. Sometimes in the moment when, particularly on our retreats, our speakers are hitting a topic that is really, really helpful, and you're in an environment where you're kind of zoned in, but it's like drinking from a fire hydrant when you're hearing from the Word of God all week and all weekend. And so it's hard to retain all that. And so this idea kind of sparked from, I would love to record those sessions of our speakers so that students could go back and listen to them again and dive deeper into what God was teaching them. And so we invested in a camera for that, and then I decided, well, let's do it for Sunday school and Sunday morning too, since we've got it. And so it's not going to be live streamed. It's just a simple recording that'll get uploaded every week. And so you can follow our YouTube channel if you're interested in that, and that QR code will take you right there to follow it, and we'll just be uploading those every week. This is also where I put the parent meetings from the past. You can actually watch, you can see them on there, the past parent meetings, and this one will be up there later this week. So if there's any information that you missed or want clarification on, you're welcome to rewatch it. Okay, let's talk a little bit just about our student ministry and who we are and what our purpose and our focus is. I know for many of you, this is not your first time at a parent meeting. This is not your first time hearing me go through this. But one of the things that I believe is really important to do is to filter everything you do through your purpose. And so one of the things that I try to regularly do with our leaders and with our students, and even just with myself, is remind myself why we're doing what we're doing, what my purpose is, what our goals are, and then that helps clarify what we do. And I like to every year put that before you as parents, one, because we have rising 6th grade parents who haven't heard our philosophy, our goals, what we're all about, and why we do what we do. But then also for those of you who have heard this now for the 4th or 5th time, I want to remind you each and every year that these are the things that are important to us. This is what we're pursuing, and this is how we want to partner with you as parents as you shepherd your children. And so this morning I kind of want to just walk through that. But before I do that, I want to introduce to you our leaders for this year. So I've got some slides pulled up here, and I've got leaders kind of scattered all around. You'll see them wearing these. This is what they wear on Sunday nights. That kind of distinguish them, because some of our leaders look, I know sometimes I can still look like I fit right in with the youth group. And so this little badge helps identify us sometimes. But first of all, let me just go through our middle school small group leaders. Let's see, we got the girls up first, I think. Let me just walk you through. We've got Joyce Heston there. She and her husband are serving again in middle school this year. This is the beginning of their 4th year serving in middle school ministry, which is pretty incredible. We've got Kristen Malik. Kristen is joining us this year. So she's starting her first year. She's serving with middle school girls. Ellie Richmond and her fiance, Austin, are back serving in middle school ministry, starting their 3rd year this year. And then Abby Schultz is returning for a 2nd year in middle school. Katie Menke is also returning for a 2nd year, and Sarah is joining us for her 1st year. And these are our middle school girl leaders. For our guys, I've already mentioned Austin and Sam, but we also have JJ returning. He is our middle school director, and he's starting his 3rd full year here in CSM, as well as Colson Boucher, who is a graduate of our student ministry a couple years ago, coming to join, serving his 1st year with our middle school. So those are our middle school sponsors. And then our high school sponsors, starting in 9th grade, we've got Caleb and Leah Watley, who are starting their 2nd year serving in CSM. Jared Leith just walked through an entire graduating class from freshman to senior, and now is sticking around. So he's starting his 5th year and is back with 9th grade this year. And then my wife there is also joining the 9th grade. She's starting her 7th year of student ministry, which is pretty impressive. Where are you, Oz? Oh, she's over there taking attendance. Our 10th graders, we've got Cole and Lyndon Kallenberger coming back. This is their 3rd year of student ministry. We also have Nate Brayton, who served with us a couple years ago, served 3 years, and then took a little bit of a hiatus, and is coming back starting his 4th year, as well as Jessie Martin, who is joining us now for her 1st year here in CSM. In 11th grade, we've got Maddie Petter and her fiance Kyle Marks. Maddie is starting her 2nd year of student ministry. Kyle's joining us for his 1st year, as well as Liz and Landon Campbell, who are joining us for their 1st year of ministry in CSM. And then in 12th grade, we've got Nolan and Peyton Silvius. Nolan is starting his 6th year of student ministry, and Peyton is starting her 7th. We also have Stephanie Porter, who is also starting her 6th year of student ministry, and then Drew Carlson and Karis Knight, who are joining us for their 1st year of student ministry. So, can we just give them, I know I hit you with a lot of names, a lot of years there, can we just give them a round of applause? We have some of the best student ministry leaders out there. This year is a unique year. It's really the first time since I joined Calvary a couple of years ago, that we have almost as many or just a few more brand new leaders than we do returners. And that speaks to our leaders who, for last year, we had 10 leaders who had been there longer than 4 years, who had ministered faithfully in different capacities in CSM. And I was curious to see what the life cycle would be. I knew it would be coming in the next couple of years. And so this year it panned out that way. But the Lord provided, as we prayed this summer, that He would build our team. He provided all of these new leaders and who are excited about student ministry, who are passionate, and I'm really looking forward to watching them, first of all, learn our culture and embrace it, and then continue to pour it out of really relational-driven student ministry. And I'm excited for our students to be able to get to experience some new faces and some new small group leaders. So this year is going to be just a really wonderful year. We have a wonderful team that God's built, and excited to see what God's going to do. At this point, I want to kind of just briefly walk through that handout you should have gotten on your way in, called the CSM philosophy. I'm not going to just read through this, but I did want to provide this for you. This is something that I give to every leader who serves in CSM, along with many other documents. But this is one of the first things that they get every year when they start, and then every year that they return. And it kind of sets a big picture of the who, why, and what of CSM, what we're trying to accomplish. So let me just kind of big picture start with this. What is CSM? What is Calvary Student Ministries? And I would propose to you that it is not two things, and it is two things. First of all, it is not a church. Our student ministry is not a church. We do have our own building. We're across the parking lot, but we are not our own independent little church that is building its own kingdoms and advancing its own purposes over there. We are actually a ministry, an extension of a much larger entity, the church here of Calvary Simpsonville. And so I say that specifically because our goal is not to be a church. We're not intending to provide everything that a church provides or should provide. We are an extension of Calvary, where we are specifically focused on serving teenagers and families in their specific season of life to help them biblically and wisely navigate the issues of life that come up. So our goal is not to fulfill functions of the church. We're not always looking to provide a full worship service. Sometimes we do. Sometimes a Sunday night event will look very, very much like a morning worship service. We'll have preaching, we'll have singing, we'll have all of that, prayer time. But more often than not, our desire is to minister to students where they're at. And this will come out more in the practical how this works itself out. We focus on relationships. So our student ministry is very relationally driven, and our goal is to partner with students to disciple them, and then partner with families and parents to come alongside you as you're shepherding your kids. And so one really big practical way this plays itself out when we think about who we are is that our students are not our congregation. Our students are our brothers and sisters who are a part of our larger church family, who we want to connect to the larger life of Calvary Baptist Church. We want our students to participate in the life of Calvary Baptist Church. So we want them to serve. We want them to participate in the worship service. Big church is not just something that they graduate to when they graduate from our student ministry. It's actually a vital part of their spiritual life now as they're part of Calvary Baptist Church. We want them to be a part of that. In fact, if you know anything about our student ministry, we have two main gatherings. We have Sunday school and Sunday night, and then we have activities kind of randomly throughout the months. And those are awesome. They're super important. I'm going to encourage you to prioritize them. But if your schedule only allows you to prioritize one thing, my encouragement to you would be to prioritize the main worship service. Because that is where your student is going to sit under the regular exegetical preaching of the Word week in and week out. They're going to participate with the body of Christ in the corporate setting. And really this flows from our philosophy that our students are a part of our church. We desire for our students to be part of the Calvary Baptist Church family for the long haul. And we realize God's going to call some of them away, many of them probably away for college. Some of them, He's going to take them away for work. And we want to send them out. That's part of what we're preparing to do. But for those who are here, we want the Calvary Baptist Church to be their family for the time that they're here. And so we're not a church, we're a ministry. And second of all, we're not a daycare or a school, we're a resource. So we're not just a daycare or a school for you to drop your kids off and expect them to come home with all sorts of Bible knowledge and training and instruction. We're actually a resource here to partner with you as you shepherd your kids, to help you in that endeavor that God has given you all. Your kid isn't going to walk out of student ministry and just automatically be the person, the Christian, the follower of Christ, the man or woman that you want them to be. And if that's what your expectation is that we would cultivate these teenagers into men and women, that's part of our goal. We're trying to disciple them, we're trying to encourage them, we're trying to show them and walk alongside them. But really what we want to do is help you fulfill what God's called you all to do, primarily as parents, which is shepherd your children. And so we want to do this in several ways. We want to pray for you and with you for your kids. We want to connect with you. We want to support you. If you look around here, there's almost 80 different family units in our student ministry. At one point, I haven't been able to do the numbers this year because I don't have the school list, but at one point there were 21 different schools represented in our youth group. We're a very diverse group in that way. And that means we have families and individuals from all different backgrounds, all different families, all different experiences, and that means we've got almost 80 different ways of parenting, different standards, different things that you are prioritizing and teaching your children as you follow Jesus as a family. And so our goal is not to say, this is the way. Our goal is to say, hey, we're partnering with your parents as they seek to shepherd you to follow Jesus. And so practically what that looks like is this. I want to encourage you as parents to remember the reality and the God-given responsibility that you have in shepherding your kids. And help allow us to come and help you with that. Statistically, I am still trying to figure out how to do this. I've seen it done one time, and I tried to build it, and it was going to cost me like $500, and I was like, I'm not doing that. But statistically, represented by ping pong balls, if I were to show you the amount of time that you have impacting your student's life. It would be like filling up 15 jar vases, full flower vases of ping pong balls. That's the amount of time in a school year that you have. The time that we have in CSM barely fills up one. So if you're expecting CSM to be the one that shapes and drives your kid, we certainly have an impact, and we're so thankful for that. We take that so seriously, and that's why we love what we do. But that's why I'm so passionate about parent ministry, because God's given you the time and the responsibility to do that. So what that looks like is like including your kids in your walk with Jesus. Right? We just heard several weeks ago about the need, the exhortation from Scripture to use our gifts. 1 Peter. Peter says, use your gifts. Every person has been given a spiritual gift. And so we're encouraging you as a church family to jump into ministry using your gifts. And I'm encouraging you as a student pastor to jump in using your gifts and bring your kids with you. So if you serve in nursery, take your kids with you. Show them what it looks like to faithfully serve in nursery and what it looks like to do it joyfully when that little baby is spitting up all over you and screaming. If you serve on security, take your kid with you. Show them what it looks like to serve faithfully. We're a body, and every body part is necessary to be healthy. And our kids aren't just going to drift into godliness and maturity. They're going to get there through intentional discipleship and shepherding. And so I want to encourage you to be intentional in shepherding your kids as we are, trying to be intentional in supporting you. And that's going to come out in a big ask that I have here at the end, which is what I'm working towards. So let me move on, because my time is quickly running out. What is CSM's purpose? I'm not going to read through all that. You can look at that on that sheet. But we exist to glorify God through all of these different ways. So therefore, our purpose is to maximize God's glory through intentional student ministry, which is accomplished through relational discipleship. And that flows then into our priorities, which you see there: gospel-centered, relationally focused. I have parent-oriented here as I was reading through it again. Actually, I'm going to change that going forward to family-oriented. Because we are oriented around your kids, but we're also oriented around your family. So we're gospel-centered. The gospel's at the heart of everything that we do. We believe in grace-based transformation. The Spirit of God is the one who transforms the hearts of our students, and He does it over a long period of time. Just like He does that in your life and my life. You can't microwave godliness in your life. You can't microwave it in your kid's life. And so we constantly are putting the gospel in front of them, and we're creating a space for kids to be who they are. They're sinners. And they hear that from me all the time. They were born sinful. If they've come to know Christ, they've been redeemed, but they still are at war with their flesh, and they sin. And rather than trying to hide it or cover it or separate it into a different category of life, we want them to bring it with them and bring it to Christ. So we try to saturate them with the gospel. We're relationally focused. Our goal is to prioritize our relationships with students, and that plays out in our core values. This is ultimately, if you can track the flow of how things work down, our core values are that we gather, grow, and go. We prioritize gathering, getting together as a group, whether it's a small group, whether it's at an activity, whether it's on a Sunday night as a large group. We value gathering. We actually believe the number one way to reach our students here is not through just more lessons and preaching, as good as those things are, but actually the foundation of it starts with a relationship. So we gather to encourage and foster relationships. That's why we do dollar dinner. That's why we have activities. That's why we go away to look up lodge for 48 hours. Not because I like sleeping on a nasty twin bunk bed with 12 teenagers, but because I know relationships are forged there. We gather for relationships. We desire to grow. The gospel brings growth, and it's a long haul of doing that. But our goal is that God would grow our students. I was so encouraged this summer. We did a Bible boot camp on a Wednesday morning in the middle of the summer at 7:30 in the morning. We had 24 middle school and high school students show up and study God's Word for 6 hours. It's incredible. And I know there would have been more who would be there, but they had sports practice or they had work. Some came for what they could before they had to leave. I mean, God is answering that request, that He would grow these students. And as we heard from John 15, we're going to keep asking big requests, that God would keep growing them. And ultimately, we're looking in the long term of go. And there's the short-term view of that our kids go out into the world every week. They leave CSM on Sunday nights, and they go out to their schools, to their jobs, to their sports teams, and they interact with people who need Jesus, who are broken and fallen. They're faced with temptation. We want to prepare them with that little sliver of time we get to be sustained and strengthened to go that week. Just like you and I need to be sustained and strengthened on Sunday mornings as we go out into the week and fight to follow Jesus. But we're also thinking long term, that we've got 7 years if a kid joins us in 6th grade before they graduate. And we've got 7 years by God's grace to impact, to shape, to partner with, to walk with them and point them so that when it's time for them to go, we send them out prepared as best as we can to follow Jesus. And so parents, I'd encourage you not to look at this in a really negative light, but your time with your student is like a countdown clock. Like your student might be a junior this year. You've got 2 years left before that clock hits 0, and then they're turning the chapter into a next season. I know it's different for every kid, but for most, they're turning the page into a next chapter. That's how we think about it at CSM. We've got these kids for 6 years. The clock has started, and it's not growing. It's only getting smaller. And when you think about the fact that 0 is coming, and when that 0 hits, we got to send them out, it really helps clarify what you're trying to do, because your time is short. So my big ask for you guys is this, twofold. Number one, invest in your students' spiritual life. Prioritize the morning worship service as much as you can. Involve them into your spiritual life. Bring them to community group. Drag them to serving with you. They're watching you, whether or not you believe it or not. And I know it because I interact with them. And you know who I see when I interact with them? I see you. And your dinner conversations come out sometimes, okay? I know that might scare some of you, but they're watching you. So lead. Use that example. Take advantage of that. Second of all, invest in your students' small group leaders. Okay, I am pushing on my end for our leaders to invest in your students and to partner with you. And I'm pushing hard for that. I'm working at it. We're trying to create that and build that into our culture. And we're gonna work hard at that this year from our end. But I'm asking you on your end to as well make the effort to invest in your students, small group leaders. Take them out to coffee. Invite them over for lunch on a Sunday afternoon. Just text them and let them know how they can pray for you, or ask them how you can pray for them. It's a partnership. It's a two-way street. And I understand the busyness of life, and so I totally get that. But I want to encourage you to invest in partnership, and then allow them, as I push them to do that with you, allow them to be a part of your life and a part of caring for your students. So let me just give a plug for that. By the way, if you get a call or a text from me or your small group leader, don't assume it's a bad thing. Sometimes when I give someone a call, they're like, oh no, what am I? When I had a parent this morning I talked to, and I asked if they could help with something related to their son, and they said, oh no, what did he do? So don't assume. We're just looking. We are just looking to connect with you. All right, our time is gone. So let me finish with this. Just point your attention, number one, to the calendar card that you got. Encourage you to keep this on your fridge. You can get a digital copy through the email. This is all of our major events. There'll be some informal stuff that pops up that's more age or gender specific. But this is the planned events. This is really helpful to have, and you can download a copy to put in your calendar. Let me also just encourage you and remind you that our PM schedule kicks off tonight, so we're officially back with CSM PM tonight, starting at 5:30. And tonight's a little unique because we're kicking everything off, introducing small groups, but we're going to have free pizza tonight. So come hang out get some free pizza. We're also going to have snow cones that we're doing, and some different fun stuff. So tonight's going to be a really special night, enjoyable night. And then let me just put some long-term things in your mind to start praying about. Okay, the first one is our sanctified retreat. This is for our 9th through 12th graders. This is coming up October 4th through 6th. So we're about a month, a little less than a month away. Going up to Look Up Lodge. All the details that you'll need, cost, transportation, all of that. That'll be in the email this week. So you'll get that. You can sign up for that. Let me encourage you, 9th through 12th grade parents, to really pray about this. Okay? I know specifically some of these bigger events that we do get pricey. And there's a reason why we only do 2 of them. We do the winter one for everybody, and then we do this fall one for our high school students. And the goal for this one is to talk about how the gospel transforms our view of dating, sex, and marriage. And so it's a really unique opportunity to speak into how Jesus can help us as students, as 9th through 12th graders, as leaders and adults, think about those topics from a healthy, godly perspective. And I'd encourage you to pray about it. I know the price sometimes, specifically if you have multiple kids, can get elevated, and I'm working to figure out a way to lessen that. But if cost is ever an issue for an event or a retreat, all you have to do is let me know. Okay, I'm passionate about this. I don't want any kid to miss one of these things because they can't afford it. I know work schedules, sports schedules, travel sometimes doesn't allow for it, but these events are huge in the life of our student ministry. And we are not event-based ministry. We don't believe God just works at events, but these relationships that are built at these things are just incredible. And so I'd encourage you to pray about sending your student to this. If I can help you in any way get your student to it, please let me know. I can't do anything with information I don't know, but if I know it, I can at least help. And so putting that on your radar, as well as camp and missions trips next summer. Out of time, and I don't have all those nailed down, but we are planning to go to camp. The goal right now is to go back to High Point next summer. That is the plan, as well as we are hopefully more willingly going to be offering 2 missions trips again next summer. And so that is the goal, and I'll give you more information as we get closer to that.